Hey guys, how's it going? Ricky Widmer here from Most Valuable Podcast, here to give you my must-starts for fantasy football coming into week number 10. And if you're new to the video, it is exactly what it says. These are the top 5 guys of mine that you've got to put in your lineup this week if you want to have a chance to win your league this week. And we're going to start right with it. At number 5, I've got Emmanuel Sanders of the Denver Broncos. And Broncos coming off of a tough game where they played Indy, got the loss. However, they get to play the Chiefs, a team that they played, I want to say it was week 2, had a great week. Emmanuel Sanders looked like, I know I said the Colts got the win over the Broncos last week, but both Sanders and Thomas had their catches. And the reason why I put Sanders as a must start, and not really, you're going to start Demaryius Thomas, but not really Thomas, because the Chiefs are going to try to blanket Thomas. Sanders is going to be the guy who is left open because Thomas is the guy getting the number one kind of focus from the defense. I see Sanders having at least a 10-point game in week number 10 against the Chiefs. Then at number 4, I've got DeMarco Murray, and we kind of seen 20 points last week in the overtime win. He's been, since the beginning of the year, it looks like we're seeing the DeMarco Murray, not really of old, but the DeMarco Murray that is going to make fantasy owners happy. And going up against the Dolphins this week, Dion Lewis, LeGarrette Blount had a great game against the Dolphins 2 weeks ago. Carlos Williams and LaShawn McCoy also had good games against the Dolphins last week. That's why DeMarco Murray, and you can even put Ryan Matthews here. If you've got him handcuffed to DeMarco, hey, let's say you have Ryan Matthews because you're like, hey, I need a running back that's on the bye. You can play Ryan Matthews as well. I feel like both running backs, DeMarco being the number one guy, going to get his touches, going to get his points this week against a struggling Miami team that has kind of died off since the Dan Campbell kind of motivation and momentum kind of surged them to a couple victories. Then at number 3, this one may be a surprise, but I'm going to throw out Matt Cassel as a must start. And I know what you're saying, but Ricky, the Cowboys are terrible. Yeah, but as a fantasy option against the Buccaneers, may not be that bad, especially if you're someone who's got quarterbacks on the bye this week. We have Blaine Gabbert on the bye, Andrew Luck, Matt Ryan. I know Andrew Luck is out for a couple of weeks also, but Matt Cassel going against the Buccaneers. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to play him as well as they played Eli. I feel like with Des Bryant, and hey, if Cole Beasley can kind of continue what he did last week, Matt Cassel could be a viable fantasy option this week. I'd start him if I needed a quarterback and I didn't have Superman Cam on my team. But number 2, and this is I know he's a number 2 because of his week last week, but there should be an asterisk next to him. DeAngelo Williams. And the asterisk has nothing to do with him being bad, not a starter. No, he's going to start this week in your fantasy league against the Cleveland Browns. The asterisk comes where the Browns and the Steelers games are usually close, so maybe he won't get as many touchdowns as some may think. However, the Browns this season have given up good fantasy points to the opposing running back. DeAngelo Williams had a game last week in his first start post Le'Veon Bell, and hey, could continue to have big game coming up this week against the Browns. And then last but not least, a defense cracking the must-starts. Could be a shocker to some of you, but the Carolina Panther D. And the reason I say that is they're going up against Tennessee, and the way I see this game is Carolina's defense hasn't scored a ton of points, mainly because they've been giving up points in games. And they've been playing the Broncos. They've been playing the Packers the past 2 weeks. The way I see it, A, they're going to get their turnovers. B, they're going to play Marcus Mariota tough. 3, they're not going to let the Titans score a lot of points in this game. I see a resurgence from Carolina on the defensive side, getting you some points. So, hey, if you have maybe like myself, the Falcons D, the Colts D, and you can either make a trade. Maybe you're a team that doesn't have a trade deadline yet. Maybe for some reason the Panthers are just sitting there in free agency. If you have them on your team, you start them this week going up against the Tennessee Titans. But that's going to do it for my must-starts here in fantasy football for week number 10. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of my must-starts. Is there anyone that you're saying, hey, you know what, Ricky, this is a guy that would be a must-start for me that was not on your list? Let me know in the comment section down below. Or you can hit me right up there on Twitter with your fantasy questions for this week. I love answering them. Hey, Ricky, who should I start, this guy or this guy? I'd love to tweet back at you and help you win your fantasy league this week. I want to thank you guys for checking out this video. If you liked it, please hit that like button. If you loved it, hit the sub button right over there. We really appreciate it. But as always, have a good day, everybody.